Hello, welcome to PlayStation Access and this very special Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 launch day broadcast with me, Rob, but also Henry himself is here. We are playing Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 with Tom McKay, who plays Henry of Skalitz. Tom, what an absolute pleasure it is to have you with us.
Oh, what an absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me, Rob.
It's also really weird because I have been playing this game maybe for about 20 hours now. I've seen your face covered in blood and bruises and mud, and now here you are in the flesh, looking very healthy.
Oh, thank you. You're not the only person to find my real face weird, but in the gaming context and elsewhere. But thank you for having me.
We are going to kick things off with a brand new save. Obviously, it's launch day. You're going to be picking up the game today for the first time. We're not going to be showing you stuff that happens far down the line. No story spoilers, don't worry. We're going to be playing the opening hour or so and just chatting to Tom about his experience making the game. We should just kick things off. I'm keen to dive in. I've not seen the intro for a while now, but I remember it opens very dramatically. So for anyone who doesn't know, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2... and it's prequel, Kingdom Come Deliverance, role-playing games set in real history in the old Kingdom of Bohemia, which is now the modern-day Czech Republic and other regions of Europe. So a lot of the characters and events that are in the game are real-life characters, real-life historical events, although Henry is a fictional character.
There are lots of real-world characters peppered throughout, though.
Yes.
A surprising amount, actually.
So scenes like this, Tom, am I right in thinking these are performance captured?
It's a good question. So, in general, my understanding is that the kind of isolated cutscenes are all motion captured, and you can pretty much tell the difference only. However, with this one, I think, given it's such a kind of broad and long cinematic opening, I think it's a collation like this moment, I think, is motion captured, but there are kind of wider shots which obviously aren't.
Right.
So I think, I may be wrong, but I think it's bits of both, actually, for the opening sequence.
Wow. It's interesting, a little behind-the-scenes glimpse there into the stitching together of long cutscenes.
Like I say, I may be wrong about that, but I think I'm right in saying that with this opening sequence. There he is.
Godwin.
Absolute favourite.
Where's your weapon? To the battlements, move!
This is an amazing actor, Scottish actor called Douglas Russell, I think his surname is. He's one of them. There's so many brilliant additions to the cast in the second game, but Douglas is absolutely one of them. He's got an incredible voice.
Maybe it's a spoiler to ask, but did you get to do many scenes with him?
I did, yeah, I did. I don't think it is a spoiler, but there's a kind of cohort of new characters, brilliant characters and brilliantly played.
Yeah.
And their stories interweave with mine quite a lot throughout the game.
Take cover!
Such a kind of cinematic element to the new game. It's so much more filmic in its quality, especially this sequence, obviously, but the whole thing has just got a much more cinematic feel about it.
There's a real groundedness to it as well that I really enjoy and I find really sort of fresh and invigorating when you compare it to sort of blockbuster fantasy games where everything's on fire and exploding all the time.
Yeah.
You can really sort of feel the realness and the danger and the peril in the conflicts here. Like it's just a little ragtag group of people trying to defend this castle, and it's getting blitzed and obliterated. You're wearing like a little tin hat.
Yeah. Well, that's it. It's Henry's story essentially is kind of small man in a big world and kind of trying to become the man that he slowly is through the course of the game. But there's a kind of authenticity to that and a naturalism that is sort of part of the game's USP.
It's a little prequel here where we're playing as Godwin. And we get to have a little bit of fun with the crossbow.
Yeah, Warhorse have talked a lot about the fact that the weaponry is kind of even a much bigger and more complex part of the new game. There's a bigger range of weapons, and I won't go into too much detail about what, but they've spoken on the record already about a lot of them, and you can definitely have a lot of fun with those. Got him.
Don't know how well the crossbow is going to do against people with shields.
You haven't a chance. Get ready! They're coming inside!
Oh, God.
Move downstairs. We can handle it here.
A real step up in terms of just the visual fidelity in the sequel as well.
Yeah.
Just like the lighting looks amazing.
Yeah, I mean, there's something about the water, like open bodies of water particularly, which you'll see later in the game, the kind of reflective nature and, like, you know, water drops onto lakes and things like that. The level of detail they put into stuff like that is incredible. They look like paintings.
I'm a big water graphics nerd.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And I have to say, like, I agree, some of the lakes and ponds in this. I was playing it the other day and like a storm was rolling through, like a rainstorm, and just... Sorry, everyone's dying in the castle because I'm too busy talking about the water.
Focus, man.
Like, I'm going up here. But yeah, just the raindrops hammering on this water surface. I just sat there for about 5 minutes just listening to the sound of it. It was...
We've actually been to quite a lot of those locations, those rural locations, like around Trotsky, and Luke and I made some PR videos, which some people may have seen, and a lot of those were set in one we did in Kuttenberg, and another one out by Trotsky Castle, and then there's this beautiful lake, which I'm pretty sure I'm right in saying features in the game itself. So it's a real kind of bonus to be able to do that. You're doing pretty well here. Well done.
Got to knock down the ladders. Almost Lord of the Rings style.
Go on, Hans.
Fuck. I've been hit. Like, don't poke at it. Just calm down. Oh, Dentist Fortuna, fucking you, vat. Jesus. You're only supposed to deliver a message to Trotsky. The most adventure I was expecting was a fuck or two.
Everyone to the tower!
Great opening.
So good. And yeah, I mean, the writing in this game is just brilliant. But I was also just thinking about the sort of, you know what we were saying about those natural landscapes in the water?
Yes.
The way that all of those wide shots, the way those are executed,
Yeah.
sort of creative brilliance of the team at Warhorse just never fails to blow my mind.
I do sort of love the grounded, earthy colour palette of it. Like, it isn't trying to be some kind of massive, vibrant fantasy world. It's so real.
Yeah.
Such
That's
an
so much
authenticity
part of its identity is that kind of authenticity and that realism.
Like, I remember seeing this for the first time and being so jealous. Like, imagine just getting to ride through that. Glorious.
Well, we didn't get to, sadly.
I thought you were about to say, well, we did. This was all shot on location.
Yeah. No, this is in the same studio that every other scene takes place in. But that's the thing. I mean, what's so amazing about doing this is that you have some understanding from the kind of animatics that they show us when we were filming it. But clearly we had like no understanding of the level of detail and the quality of the execution.
Yeah.
At the time we made it. So I kind of enjoy it, watching this stuff the same way that all the players will, because it's just, we didn't know it was going to look like this.
So here's you on horseback, looking resplendent in armour, but in actual fact you're wearing a leotard with ping pong balls sitting on a chair.
Head to toe lycra with a few dots and a chair. That's right. The power of video games, eh?
I don't doubt it. All we have to do is deliver a letter to Lord Otto von Berghoff and ride back again. Doesn't take much bravery.
Have you got used to seeing yourself on screen like this? Can you remember the first time you saw yourself in the game and how that sort of like felt? Was it a strange feeling?
Well, I think in the first game it was the execution was inevitably a bit more rudimentary. Still brilliant, but as we were saying before, they didn't use facial capture for the first game.
Right.
So the level of detail is much more accurate and much more nuanced, I think, than it was the first time round. But in terms of getting used to it, I guess I probably have at this point, because it was completely weird the first time I saw it. And seeing my face sort of rendered in that way, but maybe it's weird how not weird it is at this point. Unfortunately, I've had to look at my face enough that I've kind of got used to it. There's Trotsky Castle, which is amazingly well preserved. Actually, I mean, clearly it doesn't look like that anymore. But
wow. So I do know that it's set in a real place, but like the fact that they've actually tried to model the locations as authentically as they have.
And they really have. I mean, like I say, we've been to the real place, and but for the architecture, the kind of geography of it all is exactly like that.
Oh, that's amazing.
And even though it's ruins now, they are pretty well preserved, like I said. Off we go.
Simple mission.
What could possibly go wrong?
Ride to the castle, deliver the letter. Done.
Yeah, it's a half-hour game.
Yeah.
Well, Henry, looking forward to new adventures? Adventures that will become the stuff of legends?
Yeah.
Of course I am. We'll show them what fine fellas have turned up on their doorstep.
You bet we will.
So this is like the first example of how you can choose how to speak to hands here.
It's funny how one of the things when you're in the motion capture studio is inevitably the space is not enormous, certainly not as big as what we're looking at, and so the sense of distance when you're on the horses, it's really hard to gauge. That's one thing you have to really lean into the devs to be like, okay, how far away are we? How fast are our horses going? How loud are they? What's around us? All the kind of exterior landscape, soundscape that you can hear, clearly you do not have when you're shooting it.
Yeah.
So you just sort of have to be very gently led by them as to where to pitch it.
One way or another.
So do I.
How is that? Fortuna al dentes fortuna juvat.
Not great with his Latin, old Henry.
No.
There's the Henry I know and love. Well, enough of the chat. Trotsky's almost within reach.
So how's it looking down in the back?
All good-o. Just keep your eyes on the road ahead.
It's another favourite thing of mine is to look down in first-person games just to check out the armour that I'm currently wearing.
Well, I think I'm right in saying you can have a lot more fun with Henry's wardrobe in this game as well. A lot more options and some quite silly stuff if that's your thing.
Mostly, I've been wearing rags.
Great.
And old bits of armour that I've looted off dead bandits.
What else? Again, it's like another beautifully cinematic moment, and you can hear the music, Jan Velter's music, and Adam Sporke, who put the music together. They're just geniuses, and we had the pleasure of hearing them play live in a place called Rudolfinum in Prague, and it's just mind-blowing.
Besides, stand a chance against them. Don't do anything foolish, fellas. Just follow my orders.
What are you after here?
Is this usually how you greet visitors, my good man?
This is how we greet armed strangers when bandits are pillaging everywhere.
Can you not distinguish between a noble...
So do you have any memories of
and a
recording
bandit?
this scene, or is this like
I do.
a scene you're in a voiceover booth for? Or?
No, this is motion capture, but I was just thinking, I think I'm right in saying there's a brilliant actor called Jim High, who I was saying to you before, there's this amazing community of British-speaking expats in Prague who are like amazing actors. There's an amazing like TV production that goes on in Prague anyway, and most of them work quite extensively on the TV shows that are filmed there, and loads of them worked extensively on this game, on the first game as well. And it's just this like pretty small but amazing pool of talent that is relatively untapped in lots of ways. But luckily for us, we're all up for doing it. I'm sure that's Jim, and just really, really a brilliant resource for Warhorse essentially to take advantage of. And
So it would appear
many of the characters in the game are played by this relatively small pool of brilliant actors.
This is kind of what I love about it. There's a real sort of like tension to every small sort of encounter in this.
Yeah.
It's almost like a Game of Thrones style.
Yeah.
Are we going to be... Are we just going to be walking away from this with our heads?
But it's up to you. I think you get a choice in a minute, don't you?
Yes. I don't think I've successfully made this choice without being called an idiot by the other guy.
Well, there's always got to be a bit of drama, right?
So I
what is your
say,
play style? Soldier, advisor, scout? What did you go for?
I went scout first time, and the second time I tried to say soldier.
Okay.
I
How did that
mean,
work
the
out
most
for you?
realistic thing is I am a soldier and Lord Capon's bodyguard.
I'm a soldier and Lord Capon's bodyguard. My job is to defend him with my life.
From Skalitz, you say? The one that King Sigismund's Cuman forces plundered?
And slaughtered everyone. Even so, I'm not going to Trotsky as an enemy, but as a peace envoy.
Even so, you're still strangers here, and armed strangers to boot. And as it happens, we're on the trail of just such a band. So why should I trust you?
Oh, okay.
Yep, this is where, the majority of the times that I've tried to persuade someone or intimidate someone have not gone well so far in my game. But I love the way the mechanics work, and it's not just the skills you have in those particular areas, it's also how is Henry dressed at this point? Are his clothes dirty? And all of that has like a bearing on how people will react to you in the world.
And the level of detail on that stuff blows my mind, that you kind of, the sort of really complex mechanics of the person you choose, and exactly like you say, the way you make them look and interact, even on a really fleeting level with people, can have a massive impact later in the game. And the sort of, the logistics of doing that in terms of putting the game together is way beyond my understanding. Luckily for me, my only job is to say the lines that you choose.
I think I've tried both the top and the bottom options before. I'm going to try the middle one this time and see how Henry does.
Take a good look at us. Do we really look like bandits to you?
I'm still not sure whether I should trust you.
You don't have to trust us. As long as Lord von Berghoff does when we see him. An entire company in rat-eye livery, a sealed message. I think he'll understand at first sight who's standing before him. The way I see it, ensuring safe passage to the castle for Sir Hans Capon of Lipa and his entourage should be in your interest. So?
You can be assured that I respect your
Oh
position.
my God, yeah, I've actually done it.
All right.
Correct.
Well done. No beef. He's letting you through.
Yeah, I got a telling off from Hans both other times I played this intro.
About the cold reception, you must be cautious. These bandits create mayhem then vanish like ghosts. We'll be on our way.
Oh, so you won't accompany us to the castle to see your lord?
Sorry, sir, we can't. Listen, you won't make it to the castle before nightfall, and Sir Otto's orders are to not admit anyone after dark, especially while we're away. You'd best camp until daybreak.
I'll take your point. I mean, back home, the last time someone led a nobleman in trouble into their castle, we had to bombard it to get him out. Is there an inn in these parts, at least?
There is one, but it's a bit of a way out, and I'm not sure your lordship would like it very much.
God! What kind of a backwater have they sent us to? I just suppose we'll just have to manage somehow. Good luck in hunting down those bandits.
Thomas, captain at Trotsky. Thank you. And sorry again.
It's so funny, but like watching the facial capture now, because that face is not based on the actor, I think, who plays him.
Right.
But you can really see the detail of their performance. And actually, I haven't watched any of this in like real detail on a screen this size. And you suddenly realise the power of the technology of the head cams that we use, and the way it's like really representative of what was actually going on in those moments.
The pond looks inviting, and we've got wine enough.
It's incredible now when you just look at where video games have come in terms of being able to capture the emotional nuance of an actor's face, where, you know, just the power of the storytelling it affords is you know, incredible compared to
completely,
where we were
and then
5 years ago.
And then you think what will happen in 5 years' time?
Yeah.
Because actually the difference between the first and second game is enormous in that respect. But I think if it accelerated in the last 5 years, it's going to do that and then some going forward.
And you lot are rank.
This is where I often get just stopped for ages, because I am just going to go and have a little look at this water.
Do it. Enjoy it.
Oh, it is one of the most beautiful games in terms of just going for a walk through the car. I mean, you can see like the detail here on just individual blades of grass. You can pick dandelions.
People have said that to me, that they often spend time just kind of hanging out and just taking a moment to just kind of immerse themselves in the world and be there without any drama, without any kind of stimulation or side quest.
It's so good for doing that, and I feel like it affords you a degree of freedom that. I mean, Mutt is barking like heck over there. He's hungry, he wants the sausage. But it gives you like a level of freedom that you don't often get in role-playing games, where you can just go for a walk and not have it bombard you with side quests and activities, and you can just.
That is, I think, one of the real assets of being a kind of, you know, very much real-world based RPG, where you can just take a minute and, you know, step back from the drama for a second.
Yeah.
Which I feel like more fantasy games don't necessarily afford you the opportunity to do that. All right, Matt, what is it?
Call off that dog and then we can talk.
What's all the fuss about, Matt? Are you that hungry? All right, I'll see what I can get for you.
Well, hoorah!
Here you go. Take it.
It's got no food for you at the moment, Matt, I'm afraid.
Sorry about that, mate.
Listen, would you have some scraps for Mutt?
That's a good one. He already gobbled up a piece of venison while I was having a piss. I've got one last sausage and I'll be saving that for the way back. Look, Henry, I'm fond of that beast, but you ought to keep him under control.
So these sort of scenes like here, is this typically what you'd be recording in a voice booth?
Yeah, it's funny you should say that. I was just thinking, I seem to remember doing a lot of chat about food for Mutt. And I don't think they just did a day where we only talked about snacks for Mutt. But there was a lot of that chat, and yes, this is all just done in the booth. But it is usually very much out of sequence. So, like we were saying earlier, you'll just get a chunk of stuff, and they have to kind of fill you in on the context. So you might do this weeks, if not months, away from the preceding scene, and definitely months away from the cutscenes, obviously. So there's no sense of like a through line for you while you're doing it. You know, you might do this back to back with something that happens much later in the game.
I'll bring you something from the feast tomorrow. They'll surely serve us up some real delicacies at Lord von Bergov's castle. And I'll be invited.
God, I just get a headache thinking about the logistics of planning it all from like a writing standpoint, and just making sure that you've got the correct information when you're recording a scene.
Yeah. They're amazing, but I think what's useful is that we do it relatively in the moment. So rather than trying to sit and give me like hours of pretext before a recording day, which just wouldn't make sense and I wouldn't hold on to that information, we pretty much do it. You know, we'll take 5 minutes before a session to get the context, and then you can just dive in. And actually, most of the lines are essentially sight read. So I would generally do about 3 reads of each one, like more if it was something more complex and less if it wasn't. But we used to do a rhythm where in the morning I'd always do 2 back to back straight off, but without any direction, to get into a rhythm. And then once we'd hit a rhythm, we'd go to just 1 read of each line, and then if everyone's happy, you move on. But generally, one of us, usually me, wants to do it again just to kind of really drill into it and make it as good as it can be.
I do love the mutt mechanics, as I call them.
Search.
That's the title of his autobiography. Mutt Mechanics, my story.
Come on, Conrad. What?
Oh yeah, here we
So
go.
you've got dice set up.
This is it. This is
Here you
is
go.
the main game.
Well, this is all you're here for, right? I know you well enough at this point, Rob, that there's only one thing you came for. and
Farkle come Deliverance 2 with a side quest about some other
I have a feeling we might be
conflict.
spending most of our time today here. Is that fair?
Here I won from Oates yesterday. I'll wager that.
Sounds fair to me. All right, it's a deal.
I can't resist it.
Do it.
It's such a good mini game.
It's your game, your choice.
I hope Lady Luck will be on my side.
That's not a good hand for me. Oh, thank God I can actually score with this. I think that might have to be it for me for that round.
I would love to advise you, but I don't know how to play Farkle, so maybe I'm going to learn that today.
So I think...
Why don't you talk me through how this works, because I should really know.
Oh my God, that is an amazing... I'm going to lose.
I'm done.
So both, I think 1s and 5s are scoring die.
Right.
Unless you get like a big... So 1, 2, 3, 4... Actually, that's a good score there. So you can hold die back if they score. So I'm going to hold back all 5 of these. And I could take those aside and play again with just the 1 die remaining, but I risk my next go being a bust if I did that.
Okay.
Because if you roll that dice and it's not a 1 or a 5, then you don't score and you lose all your points from that turn.
Okay.
So it's sort of like a gambling risk, how far do you push it type thing.
Okay.
So I'm going to score and pass with 500 points there. But he got such a good roll on his first turn that I'm going to struggle to catch him up now. So that's his only scoring dice, but he can roll those other 5 dice again now.
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
And he's bust because he had no scoring dice. Okay, we might be able to win here now. But I just love.
That's not bad, isn't it?
Oh, they've got 3 5s, so I think that's 500 points for the 3 5s and the 1. So I might score.
You're back in the game by the looks
with
of it.
just those. I am now in a very good position. I'm going to score and pass. You just got to get to 1500. So I'm 200.
Okay.
Unless he wins on this go, I've got a pretty good chance of winning. Here,
Farkle is less complicated than I thought. I never really engaged because I thought it would be insanely complicated.
Oh no, he's flipping done me there. Oh my God.
My lucky dice never fail. It's mine, friend. Tomorrow we'll drink on Henry.
I don't believe it.
Yeah,
if you
well
muck
done,
up,
Rob.
if you muck up the conversation with the
Never have too much ale.
with the cook,
Want
and
to
he
try your luck again?
yes, I would, and you don't get the sausage, then you have to play a game of dice against this guy to win the ring, to give the ring to the cook, and swap the ring with the sausage so you can feed your dog. That's
Listen,
what I
you're
spent.
wasting all my money here, and by my I mean Henry's. So you better be better this time, right?
I need to push on, otherwise I will be here playing dice all day. But this, I love it. I love getting to a new tavern and immediately be like, right,
Yeah, who's
who's a Farkle player here?
Absolutely. And I'm sure I'm right in saying there are no taverns in KCD or KCD2 where someone won't give you a game of Farkle,
Oh,
right?
this is the rule.
Henry.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a tight thing with the captain, eh?
I got the feeling you'd lost your tongue.
Just for a moment. But true enough. That bastard surprised me a bit.
Well, that's what I'm here for. To deal with that kind of stuff.
And I must say, that was pretty good for your first action as leader of my bodyguard.
So the first time I've
Makes
seen
sense.
this scene play out where I've done well.
Yeah,
Both the
okay.
other times I've had like a scolding off
Perhaps
hands.
seen it. Maybe finally stop treating me like a child, eh?
Well,
That's what's so interesting for me seeing it, because obviously when you're in the booth, you're doing all of those reactions relatively back to back, so you're kind of bouncing between options,
How about stretching our
kind of almost in real time, you know?
after that long journey? With a bit of swordplay?
you're in the mood for that after riding so long.
Certainly. So then, eh? Eh?
All right then. Just a bit of swordplay for the hell of it? Or should we have a wager?
Let's save the wagers for later.
Did you get to do much actual sort of like pretend sword fighting?
Say that again, sorry?
Did you get to do much pretend sword fighting in the performance capture stage?
A bit. They have stunt doubles for some of the like more complex stuff, but like you would on a TV job or anything else. But yeah, we did see some stuff. We also got to mess about and we did some PR videos building up to the launch, and we got to mess about with some weapons on that, but probably slightly irresponsible that we did. But no, in terms of motion capture, it was much more heavily regulated and well controlled.
So, should we start?
Ready? Let's start. Draw your sword.
Hang on. This time, I'll take the lead. Let's get warmed up. I'll attack you a few times. You defend.
I love the combat system in this as well.
Well, I've been told that it's certainly in KCD1 it was incredibly difficult. Would you agree with that?
It's more difficult than what you'd be used to in a game if you're used to something like Skyrim, where you can just hold down the attack button and swing your sword. Whereas here, as you can see, you've got to look. You've got to look at where your opponent's holding their sword.
Yeah.
You've got to maneuver your sword as well.
Yeah. I think most people found the fact that it was challenging a real asset, actually, in the long run. That it wasn't just a kind of like press a button and off you go.
It's so much more engaging.
Yeah.
And it means like every encounter you have, even if it's with like I've been beaten up by a farmer before because I just wasn't concentrating well enough. And
save the advice and try it yourself.
Gladly. On guard.
So not only have you got to hold L2 here, I've got to sort of look at
Distance, Henry.
where Hans is coming from.
Yeah.
So he's coming from the left, now the right.
Nice. Good.
Oh, that's enough. No one's ever won a duel just by blocking. You've got to make an opening to strike back. And you do that by means of a perfect block.
Perfect block, eh? You've become a real swordsman.
Start your attack then.
Nice, Henry.
I'm really enjoying these randoms just standing around heckling us at the side.
Yes.
Nice. But what about a riposte? Reckon you can manage that?
Why wouldn't I? Nothing to it. I just follow up a perfect block immediately with a strike. I'll show you.
Get ready.
It's funny because this is stuff where you do need help because the context, you basically just do like a couple of hours of like back-to-back combat detail. And when you're just doing that, it's really hard to pick it apart. You have to really think about how do I make this different? What's the scenario? We had it with herbs. There's like a lot about herb picking as there was in the first game. And we literally did this. We did this sequence of probably about 25 questions. And I think I'm right in saying there were probably, like 30 odd herbs. So we spent a whole session just doing that. And I think both myself and the designers and the sound engineer were all going out of our mind because it was just relentless questions about herbs, but then with a different herb every time. It can take its toll.
Nice. Nice, Henry. All right. I get it. For Christ's sake. Enough demonstration.
I mean, I guess there must be loads of days where you're saying stuff that isn't part of the main story, where you're feeling like, what's the context of this?
Yeah,
it just feels like you're saying a load of stuff that to you on the day makes absolutely no sense. Then you'll see it in the game.
Well, there has to be a mix of there's stuff that is much more procedural where often I'll be like, oh, what's the emotion? And they're like, neutral. and then obviously there's stuff that is like incredibly dramatic and, needs a bit more thought.
First hit.
So this is a free duel now. I've got to try and beat Hans. Oh.
So, you were asking about time spent grunting and moaning. You know what all those hours before. Hours and hours of Luke and I grunting away in a booth.
Oh, he's beating me here. So this is, even if you're good at the combat, if you get parried and the parry keeps on going and they keep riposting you and you have to parry them back, eventually Henry runs out of stamina.
Yeah.
So you've got to really sort of judge how far you push it.
Yeah.
So he's parried my riposte there. I'm just going to move out of the way because otherwise I'm going to... Oh.
Again. Well done.
So this is just the tutorial, and this is tough.
Yeah.
It's out of stamina, and he's got me. Oh, he's really getting me now. He's absolutely brutalising me.
Come on, Rob.
Come on.
Weren't expecting that, were you?
It is great though. There's no simple sword fight in this game.
Yeah.
Weren't expecting that, were you?
He's dodged that one.
Yeah. I keep coming back to the soundscape though. All those little details you can hear in the soundscape behind this. The bees and the birds.
Yes. It's all
It's
kind of
so
things.
stunning.
Yeah, it's kind of things that you just wouldn't normally think of and to take for granted.
Exactly, and they're not
just
elements
there.
that we're ever exposed to. Obviously, none of that exists when we're actively involved. You know.
How do you do it?
Don't hold back!
Yes.
Well done.
That's what I call sword.
Fuck me.
Oh, God, that was brutal.
Yeah.
That's the tutorial fight.
Literally the warm up.
Oh, you won the bet.
Don't hold back!
So who won, gentlemen?
It seems this isn't my day. I knew I shouldn't have bet with you. You've improved since that last time in Ratai.
Yes, I have.
I won back then too, as I recall. You had to give me a bow.
So smug.
You were unbelievably lucky, beating me after just one day.
There's your note. Do this line, smug.
Yeah. Just have a bit more smug there, please.
He had a drink or two beforehand.
Oats? What's this food supposed to be?
What's left of our supplies? Tomorrow we'll be at the castle, and we'll get some decent grub.
If you told us earlier, I could have shot a hare. And you could have cooked it like they did in the tavern the day before yesterday.
That tavern where you drank away all your coin?
Ha! You've got to have some fun.
And then you tried it on with the innkeeper's daughter when you were shit-faced.
She was pretty. A real peach. Admit it.
Only a fella was there.
So now we've got another choice to make. Whether we want to prioritise strength, agility, vitality or speech. I think in the early
He
game,
was well pissed off.
being good at
If I
speaking to
hadn't
people
convinced
is a
him
real
you were the
sort
village
of...
idiot,
Yeah, it definitely pays
Boom.
off. Yeah, definitely.
And if I hadn't left him a
Because
fistful
typically
of
in
coin,
role-playing games, I'll be straight into like, yeah, strength,
Yeah,
just get
yeah.
good with the sword. But being able to speak your way out of dangerous situations in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is very valuable.
Definitely. What my understanding from the devs is that the extent to which the seeding of those various abilities at the beginning, like the kind of repercussions are massive, as they would be in any game, but particularly in this game.
Teresa. She lived with that crook Peshek at the mill.
And she saved my life.
Oh, I remember
A
Peshek
brave
from the
girl.
first game.
Yeah.
Right. She's
And
a
Teresa, of course.
Yes.
And is she any good? Like, is she any good? Get me? She's my sweetheart. And that's all I'll tell you. Ah, don't be such a monk. Out with it. Ah, forget it, you horny goat. This discussion is over.
You know, this travelling isn't too bad.
Apart from the mosquitoes.
Hi.
Oh, yeah, I called them bees, didn't I? I'm pretty sure they were mozzies, actually.
I think there's various different insects you can hear in the background.
Evening, Henry. You were late for supper. That's not what I call watching over our Lord.
Hey, don't make trouble.
I walked around a bit to scout out just in case. I was looking for some good rock overhang we could all shelter under. If I'd found anything, we wouldn't have to get soaked.
So we got woken up by a bit of a shower. Yeah.
Shower? I could still be wringing out my brays.
It didn't look like it was going to rain.
It did to me, though. But you didn't want to listen to me.
Can we talk a little bit about the accent that you use for Henry in the game as well? Because it's quite a soft sort of like West Country twang to it. There's you listen to you speak normally, and it's not too dissimilar to your net, but there is something there in it. Can you talk about like the creative process behind deciding how Henry sounds in the game?
Yeah. So right at the beginning, the very, very beginning, we played with quite a few different voices, and we were trying to kind of work out what, particularly in the first game, obviously he's a kind of boy from a rural village, not educated. We're just kind of, trying to give him that quality of a sort of smart and compassionate but simple man.
Yeah.
And obviously, we talked a bit about this before, but the kind of what regional accents do and what that says about someone in the UK is probably a bit more pointed because there's such a kind of powerful class system in this country. But also, like globally speaking, like he's a boy in Bohemia. Obviously, he's speaking English, so there's a kind of creative like conversion there that needs to be done, and so it was just really finding something that felt like kind of earthy and real and honest, and we played with all sorts of accents. We played with like northern accents and other kind of the only thing I think we didn't ever really try was RP, as they call it, received pronunciation, like posh accent essentially, because that obviously wouldn't necessarily make sense. But as over time, by which I mean a few hours, like we kind of settled on this like very gentle West Country lilt, which just felt like something that gave him a kind of authenticity and an earthiness without being too heavy-handed or suggesting that he's specifically from somewhere, because obviously everyone else in the game is going to have a range of accents for all sorts of reasons.
No, it's all right.
But
I think it's right. It imbues him with like a warmth and an honesty, I think.
I hope so.
What? So Radzig ain't dead, though?
Enough. Otherwise, we'll be here for hours again, hearing how Martin the Smith raised him, even though Radzig is his real father. It's complicated, and let's leave it at that. No offense.
Who help me tomorrow with getting supplies for the journey back?
We rolled dice for it, and I won. So Conrad goes.
What are you on about?
Enough. Oath, you're no fun at all. There'll be a feast at the castle tomorrow, so forget about supplies.
Anyone for another helping? There's plenty left. Maybe even a bit for morning.
No thanks. I must wash myself down a bit.
My words exactly. We can't turn up at Trotsky tomorrow in this state.
Let's go and strip, Henry.
How far have you got in your playthrough, Rob, previously?
Come and help us get out of
I've played the game for about 20 hours. I'm not a huge way through the story yet,
But
mainly because I've been doing lots of
what
side
happens,
quests.
and
such an old woman.
I know what's about to happen. Yes.
Wine to warm our blood.
We're not on a trip to the baths here, Sir Hans.
Henry's right, sir. Duty first, fun later.
God's wounds.
So is this a performance captured scene?
yes, I think from memory it is.
So, here.
Yeah, it is, because I remember doing those.
You've got to try and imagine you're taking off bits of armour.
We had a long conversation about, and also there's an extent to which there's a limit to what you can do with like finger detail, like in terms of. So I remember having quite long conversations about all this stuff of how you take off armour without causing them too many problems in post, but also to look like someone actually taking armour off. So there's a lot of like loose jiggery pokery to.
Christ. Will I ever live to see his young
Well, it looked effective then.
finally grow up? He's got a good heart, but he doesn't have the sense that he was born with.
Well, responsibility will catch up with him soon enough, though.
There's more chance of me becoming a monk.
That's a much more creative way to do it.
Yeah,
You bend
just had an
off
shot. I literally remember having that conversation when I was like, "What should I do with the feet?" And they were like, "Don't worry about it. We won't see it."
Fit for a king.
I guess this is the kind of thing we're like, if it actually was real on
Yes.
location, this would be the best bit.
I know.
Getting to go wild swimming in a nice pond.
Well, I'm a wild swimmer myself, and I would
Oh, really?
absolutely, yeah, I have, and I would absolutely take that in that location.
Wouldn't want your pride and joy shrinking.
I'm more worried about it being too deep.
There's a real sort of bond, isn't there, between Henry and Hans?
Yeah.
What's like the bond between you and Luke Dale like in real
really
life?
similar. I mean, we're sort of lucky that we've had this really protracted period of working together through the sort of medium of the relationship of Henry and Hans, and so it's kind of evolved really organically. So we kind of slot into that mode really easily. Like, we basically have a laugh, which is all you need to do. And we spent a lot of hours in motion capture studios together, not in voiceover booths obviously because you're separate, but and having a laugh, obviously spending time in Prague. So it's something you almost get for free, really, between the two of us, in terms of a kind of natural affinity and the ability to just mess about and play and be silly, which is essentially all that acting is.
Head down, Henry. We've got to sneak closer.
A noble quest here. Sneaking around, trying to see some ladies.
Yeah. I do remember we were talking earlier about the motion capture studio and how tall trees are or low trees are, and obviously there's nothing there when you're doing it. And not in this moment essentially, but like always trying to gauge how high things are. We were doing some work on a DLC the other day, and we had quite a long conversation about the height of a tree, which I was like,
let's get closer.
Again, just the soundscape as well, just like the sound of the water.
Shit! One of them is doing laundry. We have to get closer to the others. Only she's blocking our way, right in our path. Damn it! Throw a stone in the water near her to lure her away. Once she notices it, we'll hurry along the other side.
Oh, that was a bad throw. It needs to go further.
All right. What was that?
The last good time Henry's going to have for a while.
Yeah, I know, right? Enjoy it while it lasts.
Yeah.
This stuff I remember we did really early on. I think clearly everything is not chronological, but I'm pretty sure all of this stuff was some of the first stuff that we mocapped.
Right.
Which was helpful because it's such a kind of anchor moment. It's the kind of inciting incident of the whole story, you know.
So here you are literally crouching down, having to imagine the height of the reeds around you.
And everything else, yeah exactly. Because the stage isn't necessarily big enough, I don't remember with this, but often the thing you're looking at will be too far away, so you have to shoot it in pieces.
Right.
So even if you're talking to someone some distance away, sometimes you'll have to shoot those as two separate elements.
So we've got quite dramatic, I'm guessing this looks very performance captured here, like these sort of like close-up shots of combat.
Yeah, and that's where the good thing about a lot of TV production happening in Prague is that it means there's a lot of really good stunt coordinators as well. So that's where they come in.
Oh, I mean, it's brutal, isn't it? Like your gang just being wiped out.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with the term sequel reset in video games.
No.
Whereby all the work that you've done in the first game is wiped
out
right at the beginning of the sequel.
I didn't know the term, but
and
I
it's
understand
like,
what you mean.
you are now,
back to square one.
you've lost your horse, you've lost your armour, you're half naked.
I mean, it's a sort of, obviously it's a necessary thing in terms of building a world for the second game.
Sure.
But one thing I think they've done brilliantly is, obviously for people who've played the first one, it's very seamless. But even if you haven't played the first one, I know that they've worked really, really hard to make sure that this also stands alone, that you get enough information without being really expositionary or heavy-handed.
What the fuck are you doing? Hey! Hands off her, you brute! What the hell's going on here? Let her go, you pigs!
That bastard's with them!
Fucking hell! You couldn't just leave it be, could you? Come on! Run!
So there, are you pretending that you're wading through water?
And the reason being that clearly you do exactly that. I mean, anything relating to water, and I won't say too much, no spoilers, but it's obviously really hard to execute physically.
Yes.
But that's where, they're so brilliant at holding our hands through it and making sure that they know what it's going to look like. So making sure that we have a good understanding of it. Like,
What are you gaping at? Shoot!
Mysterious little look between those two then.
Yeah. Something's going on.
Along the bank!
Christ! When did you learn to swim?
Just now.
So, if you can believe it, this actually was motion captured.
I was going to ask.
I couldn't remember exactly where it came, but we literally were like lying down on chairs, sort of floating in the air, and just flailing about. Fortunately for you, most of it is obscured by the water, so you don't have to see our slightly dodgy swimming acting.
This is the bit that breaks my heart. Matt, over here.
What the fuck was that, Henry? You rescuing a damsel in distress?
I'm done with running.
Oh, really? And what exactly do you call...
Nasty.
Oh, shit. Oh, you've been hit.
What? Oh, shit.
Well, we can't leave it like this.
No, wait! Ah! Fuck!
It's funny because I can really remember this scene. Like, in my mind's eye, I just see us in our suits because obviously you can see the animatics executed in real time.
Yeah.
So and then you can watch it back sometimes, which often you need to do anyway to kind of improve the performance.
Right.
And I can really see in my mind's eye us two standing in our crazy motion capture.
It's amazing that you actually get to see like a version of the game, almost live as you're acting.
Literally, I mean, so not. They're just like avatars. They don't look anything like you. They're just kind of bodies, but you can at least get the detail of the physical performance, and it's really useful for if something's not working to try and work out why, to watch it back immediately after you've done it. Just like you would on a TV show, you can have playback and you have the benefit of the same thing here.
Oh, well, a bad day for Henry. Started out so well.
I know, right? It all looks so promising.
We'll get out of the woods and find...
Like you said, it wouldn't be a very fun game if they just delivered the letter.
No.
So basically, Henry becomes a postman.
Exactly.
End of game.
I had like 1,400 groschen in my pocket.
Yeah.
Some really good armour.
Blew it all on Farkle.
Level 60. Yeah, I absolutely would blow it all on Farkle. But now no money, no armour, no horse.
Yeah, it's not looking good.
There's someone in front of us. Down.
They mustn't get away.
I love this bit. The lighting on the torches here, just how they
do that. Like, half of their stuff is like Renaissance paintings, particularly with light. When it comes to like whether it's sunlight or the light from a torch, they execute that so beautifully.
Yeah.
You two, go up there. Get a move on.
Also, just from like a gameplay standpoint, when you're doing a stealth section and you're creeping through the dark and you just see that ominous orange glow coming towards you, it's so effective.
Then come back and give me a full report.
He'll see us. We'll have to wait.
Do you honestly think they
Get
could
to
swim
work.
all the fucking way across?
Shut up, or the chief will hear you.
It's still easier here than that skirmish on the other side.
Stumbling about in the pitch black. When all your
God, I do remember this stuff really quite vividly. Actually, it's funny.
Catching some naked men in the forest.
So, what was your experience doing stuff like this? I assume this is like voice booth recorded lines now.
Yeah, but it's a mix and match. But yeah, this stuff is. But I just I think maybe it's because it was the opening sequence, and it's sort of, like I said, such a big anchor of the game. But I remember them sitting and talking about it, and they did a big briefing right at the beginning, before anyone went near a motion capture studio, with Luke and I, and told us the story, and obviously talked us all through this stuff. We didn't know what was going to happen, so there's that. But also just the performance element. It's funny how, because there's so much of it, you do forget a hell of a lot. How could you not? But actually, when you hear it played back and when you see it, those memories are kind of really quite firmly rooted in my brain.
Right.
But they're sort of so over time, and so whatever time we actually recorded these. Even like the other day, I was back doing a DLC, and the sound of the motion capture, it makes these funny beeps just before they call action and you start performing. And even that is like really triggering in a good way. You're like, got all these memories of spending so many hours in that studio, and then you step away from it and you forget,
And what is it like? I mean, you're one of a few people who will get to experience, I guess, going through whatever you've gone through, performing stuff like this, and then seeing the final result in a video game, in the finished video game.
Yeah. It's amazing. I mean, it's
all
amazing.
The elements there, and
it feels like a massive privilege. And I think the fact that there is so much time and input between us doing it and it being executed. So clearly, the difference is like enormous between how it looks when we're doing it and how it actually looks in the game. But I think it's the immersive element that makes it different. It's not like when you do a TV show and you watch it back and you're like, okay, we did a good job, it looks good. It is different to that because it's so much more protracted. The story's so much more complex.
Yeah.
And also, I guess I know on a personal level, I know many more of the devs than you would generally know on a TV show. You're not exposed to the people working in pre and post production in the same way. You kind of meet the director and some of the other heads of department. And obviously the crew on the day you're working, but it's not quite the same thing. But whereas this, I've spent months and months on end with these people. And luckily for me, they're just the most amazing band of people. They really are. Like
you often get it in video games. I think you can feel the dedication and the passion of the dev team.
The word family gets kicked around a lot in our industry in a way that is not often appropriate. But in this case, I think it really is. That you go, it very much does have a family feel about it. They do a thing every Thursday called Warhorse Pub, where they all just go to the pub, and it's the people from Warhorse, which is why they call it Warhorse Pub. And it's there's always loads of people, and it's just lovely. It's like a really good, and people turn up. Even in the moments of when the game was going through really challenging moments of development and stuff, there's still loads of people there, and even the bosses will show up. Their sense of hierarchy, I think, is different to ours in a good way. That there's they interact much more fluidly than we do. I think as Brits we can be a bit sort of hung up about that stuff, but they're just not.
Uh-oh.
You're a dead man.
Uh-oh.
Little bit of combat. Is that you doing that, or is that a stunt person doing that one?
I did some, and let's have a look. I think that was probably me because it wasn't particularly. It's only when it's really elaborate. But yeah, I did do quite a lot of it. I did a stage combat training at drama school.
Oh, nice.
And suddenly that came in quite useful in this game.
And the fall off the cliff there, I'm presuming just to fall onto a nice soft mattress.
No, I did that on a cliff. No, you're right. There is actually there are these bean bags that are very useful when there's long conversations going on in the motion capture studio to have a little lie down. But yeah, they're actually brilliant when it comes to safety stuff, and yeah, very much so. The mattresses were used, and so were bean bags.
Try using your mouth and not your fists. We did a fine job.
There he is.
Little flashback to events of the first game.
So this is the stuff how they kind of sew it in really seamlessly. It's not heavy-handed. It's just like, and it's useful even if you have played the first game, just to have a
little
refresh.
recap.
Yeah.
Being a blacksmith might bring no glory, but it has its benefits. Like keeping your head on your shoulders. Ah. Now, come now. I was the one who raised you, but you know how things really are.
You were asking about my favourite scenes, and I was talking about family. I love these scenes. Like Matt Wolfe, who plays my dad, he's an amazing actor. Because the family stuff is so much the engine of the story.
Yeah.
Those are definitely some of my favourite elements with the mum and dad.
I'm dead, though.
It's a nice way, isn't it, to give Henry like another moment with his dad here.
Yeah.
You chose a different path.
That's what I mean. They do it very well in terms of it being a refresh, but also it has a sort of narrative energy to it rather than just being information.
But once you've chosen the path of adventure, you have to fight. You have to fight till the bitter end with all the strength you can muster. You still have a long way to go till your work is done, Henry. So pull yourself together and wake up. It's not over yet.
I mean, Jan's music it just elevates the whole thing, doesn't it?
It is amazing.
Pull yourself together, Henry.
Remarkably, that is an hour. That is our first hour of the game.
That flew by. Good place to stop.
Over. It is a good place to stop. So we've seen sort of like the dramatic events of the opening of the game.
Shot down hawk.
And the true game is just about to begin.
Yeah.
So, Tom, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Likewise, Rob.
Playing the game with you. I mean, I've played many hours of this now, and to get to actually sit and chat with you and have some insight into the making of it has been a real privilege. So thank you so much for joining us.
It's been a real pleasure. Thank you for having me, Rob. And you play pretty well there, and you're a mean Farkle player, most importantly.
So, despite the fact I lost that one game we played.
Well, you're better than me, which is not hard. So,
thank you very much, everyone, for watching. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is out now on PS5. So do let us know in the comments if you're going to be picking it up, how you're going to be playing the game, how much Farkle you're going to spend, you're going to be playing when you should be doing side quests instead. Let us know. We have loads more Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 content on the channel, including a special edition of our podcast this weekend where Tom is going to be joining us for some more in-depth chat. So don't miss that, and we'll see you again very soon. So thank you very much for watching. See you next time.
PlayStation